I, 24F, don't know what to talk about with my boyfriend, 22M. These days I usually don't know what topic to talk about with my boyfriend, except for near future plans and what happened during the day, as if I'm doing some sort of detective investigation on him. I wish we shared a mutual hobby or interest to discuss about, but we don't really have one. I tried to ask him to do something together like joining a club or playing some sport, but he's not interested. When hanging out we often watch movies together, but we normally don't really talk about them, we just watch. It's not like he doesn't love me anymore. He still cares about me and does little nice things for me. He simply does not seem to mind this issue at all. I could try to ignore it too, but then it hurts a little when I see him engage in long conversations with someone else, especially about stuffs that I know nothing about or can't understand. It sounds dumb when I keep asking, and he's tired of explaining things to me. I don't know if I'm worrying too much. Is this something that is supposed to be dealt with by both of us, not just me? Or is it not really an issue to begin with, that I'm overthinking and everyone in a relationship is like that? I just want us to connect a bit better TLDR. My boyfriend and I don't have a lot of things in common. I'm concerned that I often don't know what to talk to him about. Is this a bad thing or actually normal in relationships? Update. Thank you everyone for your kind words, advice and suggestions. I honestly didn't expect this post to become hot topic overnight. You are truly lovely people. Thank you again. To answer some of the questions. My BF and I knew each other from a mutual friend. We've been dating for 10 months. We're living together now, but he's pretty busy with work all day. Before dating we were friends for a few months. Both of us are introverts. I've been in your situation a couple of times. Having a connection just happens, it's not really something you can force. When I brought it up to my ex-boyfriend, he agreed that we didn't have much in common. I would consider him my lover and friend, but what I really wanted was also a best friend in the deal. I really liked his personality and enjoyed spending time with him, but at the end of the day, there wasn't that connection. It was broken off on mutual terms. Could it be that you're just a naturally social, inquisitive person and enjoy chats, and he doesn't really? How long have you been dating? Obviously every relationship is different, but long-term relationships all come to a point where you each know most experience-based stories about the other one's life. Their childhood, their friends, tangible things. Most people in those relationships talk about their day, their feelings, future stuff, funny moments and thoughts. The things that fill your life and give you joy. I think you're overthinking it, but also maybe you should just think about how you interact with your friends versus your so. That could give you some perspective. Your BF should feel like a best friend that you can tell everything to. One of the reasons I am glad I married my wife is that we can be with each other and not feel like we need to be talking. We can sit, drive, eat, and just enjoy each other's company. I broke up with my ex because of this. Every conversation was like pulling teeth. We barely had anything in common. We met at a swimming team, and we're just watching stuff. We saw each other twice a week, so it's not like we didn't have a life outside of each other. It just didn't work out for us, and it sounds like that's the direction yours is heading too. Have you tried saying to your boyfriend, I feel like we have nothing in common? Honestly, if I were you, I would probably just chalk it up to turns out we have nothing in common, and have a, hopefully, amicable breakup. I don't want to be the GF equivalent of the husband and wife who only talk to each other about the children, you know? If you want to try to save the relationship, you can try asking your BF to pick up a hobby together, being explicit that you want to do this, so that you two have something to talk about together, but I'm not confident you're going to be very successful here. You're basically trying to change either who your BF is, what his interests are, or your own. It is nearly impossible to change people at that fundamental of a level. No one has to be the villain for the relationship to end. The whole point of dating is that you're trying out people to see if they fit well enough to stick with for a lifetime. Frankly, it sounds like you've learned some important information here. I don't think this is normal in healthy relationships. My husband and I don't actually have any activities or hobbies in common. We like some of the same TV shows, but that's about where it ends. But we always talk. I don't think it is just a personality thing either. I am not super extroverted, and my husband is very introverted. But we click with each other, so we always have something to talk about. That's not to say we chat non-stop. We are comfortable together even if we aren't talking, but I never ever have to wonder what we are going to talk about. We talk about everything and nothing. In fact, my husband often says he knew I was the person he wanted to marry because of how easily we could talk. We've been together 12 years now and that hasn't changed. Some examples? We talk about things that are going on with work, friends, family, and give each other advice, feedback, or just space to rant if needed. We talk about future plans, from the small, should we try out that new restaurant? To the big, where do we want to retire someday? We talk about the news, not just CNN stuff, but things that are happening in our community, too. We talk about religion and philosophy. We talk about music and TV and movies. We talk about the mundane stuff of life, what should we put on the grocery list, etc. We talk about interesting articles, books, podcasts. We joke around. We talk about whatever random crap pops into our heads. But we always talk. Everyone is different, but I'd take a hard look at this. It is not likely to get better with time. Is this the kind of relationship you want to be in long term? For me, the answer would be no. My wife and I don't really share a lot of interests either, but we still manage to communicate well. She just acts interested in what I like and I in what she likes. Just ask questions about what you don't understand, and he will enjoy explaining it to you. At least I do. Try the question game. Just take turns asking each other any question you can think of. I did this often with my GF, who is naturally shy person. There are so many things that you don't know about him and he doesn't know about you. Sorry to be that guy, but I have to wonder if the two of you really have much of a relationship left. A romantic relationship cannot be sustained on "oh, he or she is nice," and or "the sex is good." Communication is absolutely key. If the two of you have nothing to talk about, are you in a relationship? Or just keeping each other company? Me, 28F, and my boyfriend, 29 meters, have very little in common in terms of hobbies, but we don't run out of things to talk about. Lately we have been having conversations about religion versus spirituality, political goings-on, things that go on with influencers. We also support one another in our respective interests, learning about them and asking general questions. When we're out, my favorite thing to do is people watch and assign a whole life story to a person. But even though we do talk a lot, we do enjoy many hours of comfortable silence. Doing our respective hobbies in the same room, knowing that the other is there, is a comforting feeling. It doesn't sound like this is your issue, but I think a lot of people want to fill the space that doesn't necessarily need to be filled with conversation. Talk about interesting thoughts you had that day or fun topics. I love discussing the sex doll community to throw some people off and engage in fun discourse. If you have interesting thoughts and are a decently interesting person, you should always have something to share. You've left the discovery phase of your relationship, where there is a lot to learn about one another, and conversation is fairly easy to strike up if you're otherwise interested. At this point, conversation is more of a social cue. You are maintaining interest and, hopefully, developing your interests. It sounds like you're game to initiate this work. He isn't. It could be that he doesn't view maintaining conversations and interests as something he needs to do. That's why he seems able to have long conversations with other people, but not with you. He relies on you to do that work for him, and meanwhile views his own interests as something that isn't a part of the relationship. Happy couples often have separate interests, but they also find something to share. That could be common experiences, like taking a dancing or cooking class together, following the same shows and discussing plotlines, or visiting a museum. This requires both inquisitiveness, trying something new, and some conversational effort, putting one's thoughts out there, engaging the other person. This may be worth trying, along with a conversation with him about how you feel pressure to start a lot of conversations, because you don't share many common interests, and you feel like you're doing most of the work to keep conversations going. How long have you been dating? Was it always like this? Sounds like you guys don't have much in common or just don't have the chemistry compatibility to strike up a conversation. Me and my ex split over roughly the same issue. Everything was great until we moved in together, and then conversations, hobbies, how your time is spent is all magnified. She didn't like how much free time I had, and how much she was working, and it became a huge issue for her, because of exactly what you're saying about conversation. You need to seriously communicate with him and tell him the honest truth and everything you're feeling, and give him the chance to correct or try to work on things. If that doesn't help, then find something better, as a good relationship should have a decent degree of shared interests. I would recommend reviewing the 36 questions that led to love, and trying to spark conversation with him on some of these questions every now and then. There is a lot you still don't know about this person, and the other way around, but finding a way in can be challenging.